typecast a lot as like a loudmouth New York angry Jew, and I'm here to set the record straight. That is 100% correct. I am angry AF. I am so mad at literally everything, and I'm going on vacation next week, and I'm like worried about this because the stuff that I have up in the air, I'm going to take with. Like, I'm going on vacation. I'm going really far. All right, so I'm going on vacation, and this is since we moved to this town, this is the first time that our spring break has lined up with our friends from our old town. So like Michelle and I and the kids are going with 2 other families. There's a lot of kids. So there's 5 kids and 5 adults. But there might as well be 50 kids.
Understood.
Right? Okay. So luckily there's a kids club. We're going to like an all-inclusive. There's a kids club. So I was like, go away. But like the amount of stuff that I am currently super stressed about between Virtua and Aces and everything else in between, to go on vacation right now, it's the worst possible time for me to go on vacation. The worst. And I know that I'm supposed to go on vacation and I should use it to clear my head, and I'll write lists of things I want to accomplish. But the problem is I don't want to write any lists of what I need to accomplish because I still haven't finished the list of the stuff I need to accomplish that I wrote last vacation, which was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Exact same thing happened to me before we went on our cruise in February. And yeah, so I understand exactly the situation you're in.
Yeah.
Because I was racing to get everything done, like literally up to the night we left.
It's not going to happen. And like, I don't want to work. And I'm already nervous about putting on an out of office message because that's already. Well, I think, first off, I don't like putting an out-of-office message because I think that just feeds the spammers to know that I have a valid email. That's literally why I never do out-of-office. But I also don't do out-of-office because I'm not actually out of the office. Like, there's Wi-Fi at the hotel, and I'm going to have my iPad literally strapped to my back. Like, I want to get away.
That's not a vacation.
No shit, Eric. That's the problem, man. It's not a vacation. I said to my friends, I said, listen, you'll find me on a hammock near the beach because I don't want to be on the beach. I hate that. It's gross. Beaches are gross. Mango smoothie in one hand and most likely my iPad in the other. Like, at least I can try to work. But the other thing is, this is the other thing. We're going to the Dominican. I don't tan. I go right from like this shade of white to the red of the All Things MSP logo. Like, there's no in between for me.
Same.
You know? So, like, I can't be outside for too long because I'll burn. I don't want to be inside because then I'm an introvert. I can't be drunk during the day because I have kids. I don't want to be drunk at night because I have to have, then I'll have a hangover and I'll have to deal with work. Like, why am I leaving?
I asked myself that exact same question.
Ugh.
And that's why I prefer my vacations to be shorter, honestly. Like, because I know that if I go away for, say, 48 hours plus the weekend, nothing is going to crash and burn in 48 hours. And when I get back, and it'll wait till I get back.
When Michelle used to work for the print company that's no longer in business, the measure of how well the company did while she was on vacation was always calculated in negative numbers. How much money did the company lose while Michelle was on this vacation? Is it plus or minus $5,000? That's not a way to live. I want to know about have you taken a vacation? Not you, Eric. I mean the audience. Have you taken a vacation lately? Has it worked out for you? If not, come join my new podcast, All Things I Hate Vacations.io. I guess. Been near.
Building and maintaining a help desk is costly, time-consuming, and a hiring headache. Help gives you a better way. Our U.S.-based tech experts deliver fast, friendly support to your clients. No scripts, no nonsense. Just real people solving real problems 24/7. It's help desk support that feels like an extension of your team. Simple to start, easy to trust. Visit gethelp.com. That's GETHELPT.com and take the stress out of support so you can focus on growing your business.
Traditional vulnerability management is outdated, disruptive, and costly. Nodeware offers MSPs a better solution: continuous 24/7 vulnerability scanning, even during business hours with no network impact. Deploy it remotely via software agents and sensors, eliminating the need for extra hardware and on-site visits, saving you time and money. The multi-tenant dashboard, with built-in remediation guidance and patch management, makes it easy to identify, manage, and remediate vulnerabilities quickly, helping you better protect your clients. Visit nodeware.com to learn more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the All Things MSP podcast. I am your Supreme Chancellor, Justin, and with me always is the Darth Vader to my Chancellor, Eric Anthony, something like that. It's a day. Hi.
How does that work? I'm the producer of the show.
Right. So you're the Supreme Chancellor and I'm Darth Vader?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
except I'm not really the evil one.
Yeah. Also, you die and I stayed alive magically later and turned younger into Hayden Christensen. Enough of this. This is silly. Today's one of those days where we decided that we were going to have a loopy day, but then Eric reminded me that we have a guest, and I love it when we have a guest because that way I don't have to talk so much. Let's bring him up, Mr. MJ Shore, Chief Community Officer at the newly branded GTIA. MJ, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you guys? But get me here sitting there. I'm trying to decide: do I want to be Landau Calrissian, Han Solo, Han Solo? Do I want to be Chewbacca? I don't know what to pick.
Real quick, this is completely anecdotal. You ever see that video of that woman who bought the Chewbacca mask and like just cracked herself all out? Because every time she would talk, it would just be the like noise. I can't do it right now. But like she was
not seeing that.
Yeah. Classic. Fine, it's on the internet. MJ, tell everybody real quick, for those who don't know you at home, give us a 2-minute spiel. Who are you? What is GTIA, and what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Okay. Ooh, there's a full ticket. So you know my name, but I am a former MSP. I've been in the industry a little over 30 years at this point. I had my own MSP for just shy of 20 years in New England, in the what's called the seacoast of New Hampshire, about an hour or so north of Boston. I sold that in 2015, 10 years ago almost, and then to a friendly competitor. And we became a good regional MSP. And then we were gobbled up about 18 months after that by a national MSP. And I wasn't as thrilled with the national MSP. So after my contract was up, I gave him a nice long notice. I think I gave him 4 or 6 months notice and went off and did some consulting. And then CompTIA at the time recruited me to come in and start what is now the GTIA ISAO, our cybersecurity threat intelligence sharing organization. So that's a little bit about me. Aside from being a husband, a dad, I've got 3 kids. One of them's married. I've got a great dog. We can go down all those roads. But GTIA is the Global Technology Industry Association, and it is the membership community that used to be known as the CompTIA community. But earlier this year, we announced our rebrand and our rename to GTIA, and we're the largest vendor neutral nonprofit trade association for the IT channel. And so we are global. That's why the global's in our name. We've got communities around the world, and we focus on helping our members succeed in their careers and their businesses. We're a big open tent. We're the one place where the entire channel can come together. And all we ask is that you leave your logo and your ego at the door and you come in and collaborate for what's going to be good for everybody. And the real everybody that we serve are the MSPs and the community around it. Our membership's about 85% MSPs, and then the rest are vendors, distributors, and what we call associates, more of the consulting firms out there that work with the channel in various capacities. So that's who we are. My favorite ice cream, it's not even ice cream, it's frozen yogurt. It's coffee heat bar frozen yogurt. I love it.
Nice. I was just waiting for that part. I didn't realize.
There you go.
That's fine.
Being healthy there, are you?
There's
What's
nothing wrong
that?
with frozen yogurt. Don't yuck his
Oh,
yum.
but
Don't
listen, I'll
start.
tell you, honest to God, it tastes more like ice cream than some ice creams.
I'm really
I
a big
still don't
fan.
believe it's yogurt.
But the thing is, the thing about frozen yogurt, and I know we're an IT show, but we're going to talk about yogurt for a second, is like when you go to the yogurt places, you're not in it for the yogurt. You're in it for all the toppings that you're paying for afterwards, right? Like
Yes.
I found out that my yogurt place will actually deliver, and so like I get to pick all my toppings, and it's great because I get a container of yogurt, and then I get little containers of toppings, and I just eat the little containers of topping, and I put the yogurt in the freezer.
Oh my God. You
It's
sound
not
like my 25-year-old son who orders ice cream on
Dad.
DoorDash. I'm
Is
like,
that you?
what?
I order ice cream. I not anymore. Not since the listeners know I've been dieting, but for a while, Carvel delivers. DoorDash is
Oh,
horrible. All right,
that's nasty.
let's. So let's. All right, moving on. Okay, so CompTIA you now became GTIA.
Yes.
What was the reason for the rebrand? Like I understand the naming, right? The
Yep.
Global Technology Industry Association totally makes sense. Very nonprofity, love it. It's global. It's about technology. It's an association. Get it. But what was the kicker that caused CompTIA to want to change it to what is, I guess, GTIA?
GTIA. So GT that's $5 in the swear jar. But that's okay. We won't charge you this time.
Send me your Venmo.
No, so the Global Technology Industry Association was the Computing Technology Industry Association. That organization was around for 42 odd years. CompTIA was an acronym for the Computing Technology Industry Association. And over the years, it also became the brand of the organization. But within that umbrella sat our membership community. We were always a nonprofit trade association, what's known as a 501c6 in the US. And then we also had this very lucrative certification and training business that grew over the years to about a $250 million business. And that allowed us to do the type of work that we do, both in terms of developing new trainings and certifications, as well as heavily subsidizing and funding the budget on the association side, which is why our dues have always been so low because they're heavily subsidized. Well, an opportunity presented itself and our former CEO had the vision to think that a point may arrive in time where the market would support the association selling off its brand and its revenue engine to then create an endowment that would benefit the association and in effect secure it financially for the future. And so that's what happened. There was the opportunity presented itself and the board of directors got behind it and voted to approve the association selling off the CompTIA brand and those revenue generating activities. So as a result, the association could no longer be known as CompTIA because now CompTIA is a for-profit company only doing technical certifications and training. So that's what led to the need to rename and rebrand. And so when we were thinking about it, we said, the irony is who talks about computing technology anymore? Nobody. It's
Yeah.
almost a, I won't call it obsolete, but it's certainly a dated term in many respects. We talk about technology. That's what we talk about. We talk about tech, whether it's mobile tech, whether it's cloud, whether it's premise, whether it's this, whether it's that. We talk about technology and we're global. So it was an easy choice to rename as the Global Technology Industry Association. And then that's a mouthful. So GTIA is comfortable and it just fits.
It's funny that you mentioned that, that no one says computing technology. My dad passed away last November, and I was going through his things while we're cleaning up. Thank you. We're going through his things while he cleans up. And keep in mind, this is the man who would call me every week and have me explain what Bluetooth meant. And, but like we're going through his things, and I found in his attaché case, and for those who are under 40, that is a briefcase, that he had his diploma. My dad had gotten his GED and then went through a technical school, and I found a diploma from 1981, and it was in digital computing technology. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
like, Of course it is. Like,
Right.
it was like
And
the
how
icing.
dare you call me to talk about Bluetooth?
I know, it was like the icing on the cake for all of these things too. But it's funny because you mentioned like who talks about computing technology anymore? Like nobody says it that way, right? Like
Right.
it's you talk about tech, it's just everything's tech, which also, you know, hurts us a little bit as MSPs because, you know, my clients are like, why doesn't the smart toaster work? And I'm like, I don't
Right.
know. You know, that's not the kind of tech I work in. Let's also just put out that, like, I'm at that point where I used to just, if someone calls and says, hey, my smart toaster doesn't work, I say, just turn it off, turn it back on, because that's my go-to for everything. But like Eric called me last, I think we talked about this on the pod the other week. Eric texted me the other day and he's like, my air conditioning doesn't work. And I go, did you power cycle it? And he calls me and he's like, did you just tell me to turn it off and turn it back on? I'm like, we're
I did.
technologists. This is what
True
we do.
story.
Yeah, true story.
I love it. I love it. But you make a good point, right? Because technology is all around us. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks it should be simple, and it's anything but.
I've always questioned, this is something I love to question a lot, which is that, especially like, why why applications stop working one day. Because if you think about it, right, it's programming code. Programming code is math. And like, whilst I understand math is no longer math, 2 plus 2 equals 4. If 2 plus 2 equals 4, the code for the program should work. Why does the program stop working randomly on a Tuesday? Because it feels like it. Like, and we're 105 plus episodes in, and I think the listeners are catching on that I might be a fraud. But like, it doesn't make any sense that technology, which is all around us, is still so stupidly complicated. My lights still work on 2.4 gigahertz and like constantly disconnect from my Wi-Fi. Why?
I love it. I love it.
Because other
Oh,
things happen, Justin.
we could spend hours on that alone,
Oh my
but I'm
God.
not sure that would help the MSPs listening. But we
No,
could.
definitely not. Okay, so I understand the rebrand, right? So this makes sense. GTIA is now is the community side of it. You're the nonprofit side. You're the ones who are helping. For someone who might not be in the GTI community, what
Yeah.
kind of help are we talking about here? Is this training? And if it's training, is it technical? Is it business? Like what MSP or where in the MSP life cycle should they come in to want to be a member of GTIA?
Sure. So we don't do technical training, or technical certification or anything like that. That's the domain of organizations like CompTIA. We do a lot of business training. We do a lot of sharing of best practices, thought leadership, content development from the members, by the members. Eric has participated in building some really kick-ass, I hope I could say that on this, content. He's been part of building, some really amazing content that we built for our members. Our members are the MSPs, solution providers, pick your acronym, vendors, distributors, and those consulting firms that I mentioned. And so we have several different programs that focus on those different membership segments. So I mentioned we're global. So we have 6 global communities. We've got North America, the UK and Ireland, the Benelux region, DACH region, both in Europe, ASEAN, Southeast Asia, ANZ down in Oceania, however they say it. I don't have a good Australian accent, so hopefully I didn't butcher that. But so we have regional communities like that where members get together. They meet a couple times a year, and then we have virtual meetings. Each of those regions has interest groups, almost like focus groups. So depending on what's important in the region, they could have interest groups around MSP, cyber, emerging tech, advancing women, DEI. One of our regions is talking about a future leader group to really get the younger generation engaged. We have what we call our advisory councils, which are sort of the headlights on the industry. They look at where things are going. I don't know if you've heard of this thing called artificial intelligence. It's sort of getting a lot of buzz. Right? Never heard of it.
We don't talk about AI on this show.
There you go. We've had an AI advisory council for about 7 years now. And for most of that time, members are like, okay, we sort of get it, but we don't really understand how it's going to impact us. Well, lo and behold, here we are. It's everywhere. So we have programs like that. So it's a multitude of things: research, member education, events, the whole 9 yards. So we have a whole bunch of different ways that members can engage with us, and they can do it in whatever manner works best for them. They can do it in person. They can do it online. Our education is more business focused for sure. We also have a cybersecurity programs team that just focuses on the cyber issues that relate to the membership. And so, we have that cyber threat intelligence sharing organization I mentioned earlier. We've built what's called the cybersecurity trust mark, which is an assurance label that goes to the company that is a way for an MSP or an MSSP to designate that they're doing the right things when it comes to cyber. So we help MSPs become more cyber resilient. We've got a lot of training around that, which is not, as technical as you might think. That really is more about business. It's about risk. It's about, analyzing the threat landscape and the surface area, the potential attack surface area that exists. So we have several different ways, but what we always hear from our members is they value the community because it's different. Look, I remember my days as an MSP, and I joined CompTIA way back in the year 2000. Say it like it's like forever ago, but sort of feels that way. But I joined CompTIA as a member in the year 2000. It's probably why I'm so passionate about the work that I'm so fortunate to be able to do now, because CompTIA was a huge benefit to my MSP because it helped me get exposed to so much more than what I would be exposed to in my little corner of New England over here. I'm in a city of 23,000, but yet I know people, I met people from all over the world. I heard stories of successful service bundling and delivery. I heard the challenges that I was seeing in my own business. So members always tell us that those networking opportunities, that chance to dialogue with other members are one of the most important things, and that it happens differently than when you're part of a vendor community. And that is no slight to a vendor community. You have to be involved in your vendor community. We're staunchly vendor neutral, so I'm not going to name names, but when I was an MSP, I was partnered with one of the big players in our space. And you bet I went to their annual conference every year, and I participated in their user groups, every quarter, because I needed that vendor centric education and information about the tools that I was building my business on. But what I got as part of what's now the GTIA community was a whole different layer and level on that, because it wasn't about the stack. It was about the business. It was about career development. It was about making sure that we could be the best MSP we could be given whatever resource constraints we might confront. And I used to, as an example, leverage the daylights out of our research. I would take our research because it's neutral research, and I put our research on par with the best of the best out there, and it's part of your membership. So I wasn't paying tens of thousands of dollars for these research reports, but we let our members put their logo on our research and say, compliments of. And so I used to bring those to my QBRs and sit down with my customers and say, hey, I've been talking to you about X, Y, or Z. Well, here's some neutral research from our industry trade association. Remember that group that I keep telling you we're part of? Just read pages 5 to 7. I think you'll be interested in that. And, that helped me become such a trusted advisor to my clients back in the day. Yeah. And so, it's like anything, right? We've got more benefits than you can probably consume in whatever time period you want to put down, but they're not going to do the work for you. You still have to put a little, as my dad would say, elbow grease in. You want to take a course, the course isn't going to take itself for you. You're going to have to enroll and do a little learning. The research isn't going to help you sell more services, but if you position the research properly, guess what? It'll help you sell more services. So it's like anything, you definitely get out of it what you put into it, but I would argue you get out in multiples what it sounds what you have to put in.
It sounds like just research and the community just pays off in spades for being a member. I mean, as an Apple consultant, we're members of the Apple Consultants Network, and while yes, that obviously is not vendor agnostic, but the community itself that we've built, and even the ACES community that we've built, like, it's good to know, like, when you have a community like that, it's good because everyone feels like, we've talked about this before, like everyone feels like they're on their own little island when they're doing
Right.
this job, right? And obviously, we know the numbers, right? There's 40,000 MSPs in the United States, something like that. Obviously, you're not on your own little island, and you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Like, everyone's going to take care of Office 365, and everyone's going to put DLP, and everyone's going to do email security, and everyone's going to do cyber. But like, you may not do it as well for a particular vertical as someone else might. And when you get said client in that vertical, you need help, because whilst, yes, you may roll out the same stack to everybody, a doctor's office is going to have vastly different rules than my graphic design firms that just want to smoke weed and draw pictures, right? Like,
It's still that way. That's
it's still
fascinating
that
after
way.
all
No,
these
that's
years.
why they're artists, man.
Yeah, good
But
point.
like, when that MSP who picks up doctors picks up the graphic designer, or vice versa, like, and you're in the lost because you're like, oh, I don't know what the rules are. How do I do this? Or how do I convince them to do this? Having a community like GTIA is the place to go to talk to other people, and have this stuff. So you mentioned events, and let's talk about the big one, right? You guys have ChannelCon. This is the big to-doings. July 29th, 31st, Nashville, Tennessee.
Correct.
I love Nashville.
We're excited. It's our first time being in Nashville, so we're super pumped about that. And we'll be at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center, which is an awesome facility.
It is. Yes. I haven't been there since freshman year of college. So like, I'm hoping the Muffin Man is still there. There's a big fat muffin guy in front of their bakery.
I haven't been there in years either, but I remember it's a great space because there's plenty of room for little offshoot gatherings around the main event. But yeah, we're super pumped about that. ChannelCon's our premier event every summer. And we move it across the U.S., kind of east, central, west. We sort of didn't move as far this year. Last year was Atlanta for the east, and Nashville's the central years. But we wanted to give it a try
between those two.
I know.
Okay, so for those who don't know, because obviously you're listening, what happens at ChannelCon?
So ChannelCon's great. It's a different event. It's not the typical event when you think of conferences in our industry. So again, going back to our unique place in the industry, there's no selling from the stage. So all sessions are thought leadership, best practices, lessons learned. We're doing something different this year. We're shaking up the keynote. We were following the same, sort of regimen that most conferences do. We try and bring in a nice headliner that everybody knew and wanted to see. And that's always good, but you don't always walk away with, you might be entertained for an hour, but do you walk away with real stuff that you can do in your business? And so we're shaking it up a little bit this year. And this is based on feedback we've gotten over the years from attendees. We're actually going to have two keynotes, both women. One is going to be on AI, and actual AI use cases and practical stories from the real world about where AI is making a difference, where it may not be making a difference. And the other is all about creating a culture of radical candor and just creating a really great culture within the business. So we're focusing on one sort of technology-based keynote and one culture-based keynote about building a world-class organization. So I'm excited about them because both keynoters are they're great presenters. They are expert in their field, and attendees are going to walk away with just pages of things they can do in their businesses if they choose. So we're super excited about that. Our vendor floor, we always have what we call a technology vendor fair. It's sort of it's the trade show component. But again, because we are a neutral trade association, exhibitors don't pay for their booths. It's part of their membership. And every exhibitor has the exact same size booth. So what we hear from attendees is they love that sort of low pressure level playing field. There aren't these massive pavilions or stuff going on. It's a comfortable way to sort of survey the landscape and see, maybe meet some new vendors, meet existing vendor partners, or just see what all's going on out there in the industry. We had over 180 booths last year. We're expecting, we'll have that or maybe even a little more this year. So we're really looking forward to it. There's, we've been very, very fortunate since we announced the new brand. There's just been tremendous response and interest in every event we've had so far. We've had 3 events so far this year. We've had record registration and attendance. So,
That's awesome.
we're planning on seeing the same for ChannelCon. So we're excited.
I would love to know, of those 180 booths, how many vendors will help me take care of my Office 365 tenants.
I am not even going to hazard a guess on what that
Yeah,
number
that's
might be.
if like I'm gonna give your vendors a bit of advice. If that's your opening pitch, no, just don't. That's the way it is. Well, look, ChannelCon sounds like a really awesome event. Where can people learn a little bit more?
Sure. So you can learn more about GTIA at gtia.org. You can learn more about ChannelCon at channelcon.gtia.org.
That's awesome. MJ, this has been great. I think, as an MSP, granted I'm on the Apple side, but I think a lot of people should join.
Excuse me. Sorry.
We'll edit that one out. As an MSP, I think, even though I'm on the Apple side, I think a lot of people should join GTIA. I think it's a great organization.
Thank you.
I know Eric has fed us information on the podcast before about we won't say GTIA knee CompTIA. And I can see him. He's sitting there waiting for me. Eric, what do you want to say? You got something to say, man. I know you do, brother.
So I know we're getting close to the end of this. And I did want to say, first of all, going back to your analogy of the islands, Justin, one of the things that ChannelCon does and that GTIA does is makes you realize how close everybody else's island is to yours. And it doesn't take a lot of work, especially when you go to ChannelCon and you're meeting these people in person and you don't realize they have an MSP business across town from you. Right. And there are so many opportunities for you guys to talk and really understand what each one of you is going through and help everyone else that are going through the same things. And then I also want to say something about GTIA itself. I just, back in March, went to CCF. And if you haven't visited CompTIA in a while, there's a new vibe. And it's exciting. And I really think that if you kind of walked away for a little bit, now is the opportune time to come back. And of course, Nashville's a great look. You picked my favorite place, MJ, to have
that's a credit to our events
ChannelCon
team
this year. And I do have one question though. Will there be real bacon?
Yes, there will.
That's an inside
I'm only
joke.
Going to say,
well, now that there's gonna be bacon, I'm probably gonna have to show up also.
There will be bacon. Yes, there will. Thanks for what you said, Eric. I agree with you. I mean, that's what we've been feeling as a staff, that that this buzz is something important and something that we need to be very accountable and responsible about harnessing and driving forward. It's really been the wind in our sails through this transition. And it's great to see. If you haven't dipped your toe in the water in a while, you're 100% right. Now's the time, especially because we're listening. We want to hear from our members and prospective members. What can we do better to help you? We know we do a lot of things well, but we also know, we're smart people, but we don't know everything. Help us help you. That's what we're here for and what we're uniquely positioned to do. So, another thing you can do is go to gtia.org/suggestion box and send in any ideas that you have about ways that we can help the industry, programs we can develop, etc. You will hear back from a live human. We watch that every single moment.
Well, this sounds awesome. I'm excited. I'm gonna have to check it out and maybe convince Eric to bring me, and I'll be allowed out there. Yeah. I mean, there's bacon, so why not?
No convincing required.
There you go. All right. Well, MJ, thanks so much for being here, man. Hopefully we'll see you soon. We'll talk more about GTA soon. Eric, any final words before we say goodbye to the folks at home?
Just that, I've been involved with GTIA for a long time. And that's one of the reasons why, by the way, I was a little more silent on this call, because I wanted Justin to ask most of the questions, because quite honestly, I would probably gloss over some of the things because I know kind of how the sausage is made. Like I've been inside of it for so long, and I wanted a more fresh approach to the interview today. And so I really appreciate, MJ, what you have done, what GTIA is continuing to do in supporting this entire community, this crazy, whacked out, weird world that we live in, but we all love.
Yeah.
100%. Well, thank you. It's, it is a pleasure. It is a labor of love and I'm not being even remotely cliche about that.
Oh no, we'll talk offline. I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, thanks so much for being here, MJ. Check us out at facebook.com/group/all things MSP to join the Facebook group of over 7,000 other MSPs, most of which are probably at GTIA. Well, you'll meet them at ChannelCon, so you can get that face-to-face interaction that you really want. Check us out in all of our high-def glory at youtube.com/all things MSP, so you can watch me yelling at my kids when they ring the doorbell as opposed to just coming into the house. Follow us on all of your favorite podcasting tools. You're listening to us right now. But when you do get home from getting your coffee and listening to this, leave a review. We want to see those reviews go up. Like, subscribe, the whole thing. MJ, thank you. That's Eric. I'm Justin.
Pleasure, Justin.
Bye.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you for listening or watching the All Things MSP podcast. If you liked this episode, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and consider subscribing to catch all our weekly episodes. And from your host extraordinaire, Justin Esgar, and myself, Eric Anthony, your humble producer and All Things MSP founder, thank you very much for spending your time with us. If you are not aware, All Things MSP started as a Facebook group and now supports over 6,000 members. We also have a LinkedIn page for those of you who don't do Facebook, and make sure to check out our YouTube channel for even more content. A special thank you to our elite sponsor, CoreView, helping you manage your Microsoft 365 tenants instead of them managing you. And a big thank you to our premier sponsors, EasyDmark, Helped, GoZinta, MoveBot, and Nodeware. And thank you to the rest of our sponsors. Without sponsors, we could not do what we do for the MSP community. Please consider checking them out. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of any employer, vendor, sponsor, or random taxi driver in the Metro DC area. Be sure to join us next week for another exciting episode.